Peace and blessings. Hopefully today will be my museum day. I've been trying to see these museums for a while. Yesterday I was going to go, but I ended up getting caught up. My phone died while I was at the African American Museum, unfortunately, but that was beautiful. There were it went from the bottom floor to the top, chronologically through history from slavery up until now, with African Americans in media, in politics, and in the public light, in sciences, etc. Unfortunately, though, my phone was dead, so I didn't get very many pictures, and I had to go meet Ilhan Omar, and the meeting was canceled because she was on the House floor voting on an issue. I did see her on the way out, and I felt too shy to ask her for a selfie, but I said salam to her. I said peace to her. I gave her a salutation, so that at least reassured my heart. That made my heart feel good. I got two of my best intentions. Rashida Talib and Ilhan Omar. May Allah bless them, and may Allah make them a light for this country. Ameen. So today I'm at the Smithsonian Castle, and it's beautiful just even sitting out here and seeing the Capitol, the museums surrounding the National Mall, and the Washington Monument and Lincoln Memorial on the far side of the National Mall. It's an incredible place to be. Hopefully I'll have enough time for all the museums. I'm going to have to rush through them. They're a lot larger than what I expected. They're the biggest museums in the world. So I look forward to trying to get even just a little piece of the knowledge that they have in there, inshallah. Just walking through this castle and the garden here called the Parterre. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. It just gives you a sense of the grandeur of this place, the grandeur, the majestic nature of this institution. Right next to this castle, there is a Asian art museum, a few Asian art museums, and then an African art museum in this courtyard area. So those are the first ones that I will go walk through. Sackler Gallery of Asian Art is right behind the Smithsonian Castle, and here they have a very prominent exhibit on the empresses of China from the Qing dynasty. They show their art, artifacts, furniture, clothing, and other small items from that time period and from their specific dynasty. This is a small gallery. It's just a few floors, all connected. Third floor of the basement, there are pieces of Iranian pottery from some 7,000 years ago, and a beautiful calligraphy sculpture that stretches all the way to the ceiling. So we move on to the exhibit on the Buddha, who was a spiritual leader in India and whose message spread through all of Asia and now all of the world. There's this map behind me showing the major centers of Buddha in the Orient, and it's really incredible to see how these prophets and saints' messages affected these areas and the wisdom that they left behind for us. There's a Tibetan Buddhist meditation room, and I'm not sure if you can hear it, but they're actually playing audio recordings from their traditional chants. This next section shows the art of the Iranian, the Persian empires, specifically the Achaemenid and Sasanian empires of Zoroastrian tradition. A small section on ancient Yemeni art from the 1st and 2nd centuries BCE. Some of the idols of India, ancient bells of China that once resounded through the city streets. The Freer Gallery of Art was really quite remarkable. It's a smaller building, just one floor, situated around this inner court area, and it covers art from the Indian subcontinent, some of their idols and their pottery, the Japanese art, the statues, and Chinese art with their ancient jade, some of them dating back 3,000 years. The Japanese and Chinese galleries especially were full of beautiful scrolls and watercolor art. The American Art Gallery explores the influence of Asian art on America. There's an interesting peacock room from England, which was a very well decorated Chinese themed room from England. There was a section on Korea and yet another section on China. And my favorite section, of course, was the section from the Islamic world. Here in the Islamic Art Gallery, they have the beautiful and divine calligraphy of the Quran on display for all to see. Unbelievably beautiful glass and clay pottery adorn this room and show the light of the civilization that flourished and still does in Arabia. The works of art and the machines of the Arab and the Islamic world were so intricate. They also display medicinal texts, historical texts, and works on cosmology and science. Let's finish the National Museum of African Art, which had a number of exhibits with beautiful ceramics, pottery, intricate goldwork, and other collections. They had beautiful pieces of cloth, paintings, sculptures, statues, and other images with intricate designs. It was quite beautiful, showed the richness of African heritage, and showed the spirit of Africa, down to earth, but yet so rich. My favorite sections were the one on Mansa Musa, who many people don't know was a West African Muslim king and the richest man to ever live. There are so many stories from his life, and he was so rich because of the reserves of gold in West Africa, and of course because of his piety, being a believer. They had also verses of the Quran written on bone and paintings with Quranic calligraphy, as well as a copy of the Quran and the small briefcase that was used to hold it. It was truly a beautiful, beautiful gallery. It was really a great way to connect to the heritage of Africa, and now I've got to go see what else I can find in this area with the time that I have. Since the Arts and Industries Museum was closed, I came over here to the Hishorn Museum, which is a fairly nondescript building on the outside, but once you step into the inner courtyard, you see how tremendous the building really is. Then as you enter, you descend into great large words with interesting quotes, interesting rhetorical questions. On the lower level, there is a painting exhibit entitled Snake Eyes. The middle level has a really interesting projection exhibit showing the pulse, the human heartbeat in light and in water. And the upper level has a segment on what absence is made of, which is meant to instill a feeling of nothingness, and interesting abstract art from Mark Bradford lining the inner hallway. Next, I've come here to the towering megalithic structure of the Air and Space Museum, which houses plenty of spaceships, rockets, satellites, planes, rovers, and other aircraft in its large entrance atriums and its many exhibits. Visitors will take walks through the history of flight, the early flying machines, and how they developed through the years to the modern aircraft that we know today. This museum is formidable for adults and children alike to learn about the sciences of aeronautics, of aerodynamics, and the history of it, as well as the conceptual future. It's definitely an interesting museum, and it helps you to look forward to a bright future of space travel and air travel. The National Museum of the American Indian is situated just next to Capitol Hill in a beautiful building reminiscent of some of the adobe structures you might find in the southwest of America. This museum showcases the culture and philosophy of the Native Americans, some of the virtues that they would instill in their children through their teachings, as well as some of their ritual prayers that they would offer daily. Then it shows the colonization of America, how that affected the lifestyles of those living here, those indigenous to this area, and the plight of the indigenous people through the expansion of America. My favorite floor was the top floor. It included sections on cosmology and philosophy. It touches my heart to see the native peoples being appreciated and integrated into this culture, as they showcase on, I believe it was the second floor, how they have been introduced into media and politics and elsewhere. Of course, I had to make time for the National Archives, which included historical records, blueprints, patents, and of course the rotunda area at the top center of the building, which includes the Bill of Rights, Constitution, and Declaration of Independence. Unfortunately, that section was off limits for cameras though, but there were other sections in the museum side which covered immigration and women's rights and rights for minorities. Sculpture garden and fountain between the National Gallery of Art, the National Archives, and the Museum of Natural History, where I'm headed to next. The inside opens into a rotunda with entrances into sections on mammals, regional fauna from different areas of the world, marine life, marine fossils. There's an exhibit on human evolution and anthropology with special focus on Africa as the cradle of humanity and one of the cradles of civilization. They even highlight Muslims in Africa and African Islamic architecture. In the geology section, they have over 7,500 gems with large pieces, famous jewelry, and even meteors as well. I finished my tour with the live animals and plants exhibit, the human mummies, and the dinosaur mummies. Really, this was the most rich and vibrant of all the museums I visited, probably the one that I would want to spend the most time in. It was so beautiful, but now I'm finished. I barely made it to the American History Museum, and unfortunately my phone died while I was there, so I didn't get to get a picture of the Star Spangled Banner or the Thomas Jefferson and George Washington artifacts. Now I'm at Panera Bread, just getting a quick bite to eat before my next destination, and something really funny here happened. I was upstairs and I was getting some lemons and I squeezed one and it went all the way downstairs and landed on somebody's foot. And he looked down and he looked up, and by the time he looked up, I was gone. From DuPont Circle, I'll head right down Embassy Row on Massachusetts Street to the Islamic Center of Washington. This one just so happens to be the Indonesian embassy. I think there are some also from the Indian subcontinent in this vicinity. In the area, I decided to stop by President Woodrow Wilson's house on my nifty little Lyft scooter. It's been beautiful in Embassy Row seeing all of the different flags line the streets from various countries around the world. Also a great view from the Spanish Steps overlooking the city below. Mashallah, I made it down the street to the ornately decorated and detailed building of the Islamic Center of DC. And from the moment you step in the door, you can see, you can sense its beauty. Mashallah, this place is so filled with life, even on an average Thursday night. This is where I've spent the rest of my evening in prayer, meditation, reflection, and contemplation. Now, it's only a short bus ride to Philadelphia. I've had an amazing time here. It was maybe the second best experience in my life, behind pilgrimage to Mecca. But that's it for Washington, D.C. I'm very appreciative, very thankful to God, alhamdulillah, for everything that He has blessed me with. Until Philadelphia, peace and blessings, y'all.